Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane, and it is Saturday, April 20th. It's a good Saturday. How about that? How are you, Eileen?
I'm
Welcome.
doing great. How are you?
Doing wonderful. You guys can let me know if our levels are off or anything. If it seems like I'm a little louder or something, just let me know. It's hard to tell sometimes on my end.
Been playing around with the volume here.
Yeah, it's just hard to know. All right, so anything special going on? You got Easter egg? I don't know.
I haven't planned anything. You've got a grandchild to take care of. Are you going to do an Easter egg hunt
I
or?
just go with the flow, whatever they do. They normally do something around here, though. Like if it's raining, they'll do it inside, or they'll just hide it out in the yard.
Yeah. We had many an Easter egg hunt inside.
And we had our first. We had to mow our yard or whatever, but we had so much rain in the last week, so it's like already needing cut again. I think it was
Yeah, that's
last.
what I've heard. That everybody's been getting kind of a deluge of
Yeah,
water, and the grass is just holding it. We just
yeah,
kind of started our rainy season down here with some good thunder yesterday. We had our first bit of thunder of the year.
yeah. I love the storms and the wind, and it just
Yep,
seems like it's
it's been
rinsing
real
and
windy.
cleaning. Yeah, gotta love it. So we were talking about the manifestation thing that you had brought up right around New
Oh gosh,
Year's,
yeah.
and
And we forgot to talk about it last week, didn't we?
yeah, exactly.
So
So do you want
it's
to explain?
interesting, yeah. Our community's doing it. You haven't tried it yet, but you're tempted to, aren't you?
Right? Yeah,
Okay, so I think Jose's doing it, and another person on that she talks to on her channel. April did it twice. I did it twice. My sister's done it many times. I have friends in the UK who've tried it, and it all came to us via word of mouth. So it was always passed on verbally, which is kind of cool when you learn something that way. That's like the old traditional human
oh
way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And the first version was too strict for me. So I changed it and I made it easier. And I did it the easy way and it worked 100%. So I figure if the easier way works for me, it's got to work for everybody. So here's the hard way. It's called 40 Days and 40 Nights. And you get a notepad and a pen and you put it by your bed. And every morning, the first thing you do after you open your eyes is you write down, like anywhere from 1 to 3 manifestations that you really, really want to happen quickly. Short term, want them now, let's get them in place, those kind of manifestations. We all have a few of those hanging around. And you write it as if it's already happened, the Neville Goddard way. He's a great old New Thought speaker, and I've been listening to him on YouTube lately. And he always says, when you visualize something, go into it and see it from the inside out instead of visualizing it in front of you, where it's not something you're immersed in yet. He said, first get into it and then look at it from the inside out. So you write down the important manifestations as if you've already got them. So a lot of I have, I do, I am, and then fill in the blank, right? And then you sign it and date it. And now it's a contract. Who's it a contract with? That's unclear. It could be a contract with your higher self, with God, with source energy, or with the creative universe. Or everything and everyone could be involved in that contract. And then right before you go to sleep, before you close your eyes, you write down the exact same things. You can use different wording, but they're the same topics as if you already have them. Oh, yeah. And then give gratitude, be grateful and thankful for them, and then sign it and date it. So I think from psychology, we discussed this ages ago, didn't we, Shane? We kind of figured that from a psychological standpoint, you would be convincing yourself that it is a reality. because the brain can't tell the difference between like something that is and something that isn't when you're watching a movie, or it just it takes everything it sees on board as real.
Like
So,
imagining, we talked about imagining biting into a lemon or something, and your mouth begins
yeah,
to water, and there's no lemon
yeah,
around. It's just in your mind. But
the brain thinks it is,
yeah,
right? Because and
yeah.
athletes do that. They see themselves winning the race because the brain thinks they did,
And
you
that
know?
really ties into what we hear from, like, Esther or Abraham Hicks
Yeah.
about becoming that frequency match for what you want. So when you feel like you already have that job or that, uh, you know, significant other
Relationship.
or whatever, yeah, and you're living that feeling of it, there's no choice but to bring that to you. And I
Yeah, it's
really
like
believe that
I
because,
believe
I
that
mean,
too.
yeah, and I think that's this whole idea about the whole, this idea of new earth or a better way of being. I think we have to become it and resonate it so hard that
It
we just shift.
appears around us because we're already acting as if. We're
Yeah,
all acting and thinking and feeling as if we're on New Earth. So
yeah.
it has no choice but to materialize around us. Yeah, I
And I
totally
really
buy
see
into
that
that.
with, you can see everybody's. It's like a symphony, if you will. Everybody's doing their parts. You do have the people at the level of holding picket signs up or whatever, but
Been
we
there,
have
done
another,
it.
yeah, and we have another level of people who are using their power of intention and trying to support that other part of the movement, because it's like it's one big symphony. So you can't really say that one part works without the other. It's like this whole body of Christ idea that
It's all
everybody's,
connected.
yeah, it's all connected. But you can see how beautifully it works when you can sort of take a step back. And I
Yeah,
think,
it's hard to step back though. A lot of people are out there with the picket signs and signing petitions because they feel angry and they want to change it. And they
yeah,
think that they can force the change. And I was there. I wrote the petitions, I signed the petitions, I protested, you know, and I didn't change anything.
yeah.
It didn't
But we,
do it for me. My world continued to keep spitting at me dirty politicians, and unhealthy food, and
yeah,
laws that don't benefit people. So I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting it. Why is it still coming at me?
yeah. But there's people that's right where you were then.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we have to sort of add the support in to keep things peaceful, keep things loving, and let them work through their protest or whatever it is. And we're sort of the adding the protection and the peace and everything,
The
just wanting
harmony.
things, the
We're adding the
harmony.
harmonics in a
Yeah,
discordant place. We're
yeah,
adding the harmonics. And it's interesting because one of two things is going to happen by holding that peace and that love and that expectation of goodness for yourself and for everybody. Either you're going to shift into that kind of a world and you won't realize it that you've just shifted on your own because everything looks the same around you, or the whole world's going to shift if enough people are doing it. So
and that's what I
it's a
think.
win-win situation. Either way, you win.
Yeah,
So here's the easy way to do it. So the rule was if you missed a morning or you missed a night, you had to start over. How terrible is that? Like you're on the 23rd day. You've written it morning and night. You've signed it. And then you just miss one morning or one night and you have to go back to square one and do it for 40 more days. To me, that's like punishment. I don't believe spirituality should be punishment. So I changed it up a little for myself and I made up the rule that you only had to write it once a day, either in the morning or at night. You're still making that contract,
yeah.
and that if you skipped a day, you could write two the next day. You could be like, darn it, I forgot to write my contract last night. Never mind, I'm going to write two today and I'm going to sign two.
Didn't April? I think April did it morning or night, didn't she?
Yeah,
Instead of doing
yeah,
it both.
yeah.
And
I did too, and I gotta check with April and see if she's had any successes yet because I have had successes with mine. I'm manifesting quicker now.
yeah, it might just be quicker if you're doing it morning or night, because then it's
Yeah,
like your last thing you think about, first thing you think about when you
yeah.
wake up, and you're
It's like
making that a
hypnosis.
habit.
It's like what is it? Programming your brain.
Yeah,
Now,
instead of the
Neville
TV
Goddard
doing it.
believed that as you're going to sleep, you should fake a dream and you should put yourself in the middle of it and just create exactly what you want, whatever that is, a new house, a new job, a new place to live, like a new state, a new country, a new relationship, a slimmer body, a fatter body, a stronger body. You just close your eyes and you're just drifting off into sleep and go, okay, I'm going to create this dream and I'm going to be in the middle of it and it's going to be exactly what I want my life to be. And then you
That's
drift
awesome.
off going to sleep, programming your own mind.
I bet it could lead to a lucid dream too.
I bet it could. In a way, it's a fake lucid dream because
Right.
you're not really asleep, but you're lucid dreaming.
Yeah, but I mean, you can add more purpose to it too, and more intention. Really
Yeah.
feeling what it feels like to have that relationship or that house or that
Well, Greg
whatever,
Braden says it's the feeling that adds the magic,
Yeah,
and so does Bruce Lipton now. Everybody's come around to believing and achieving is not enough. You got to feel it to make it real. You got to feel it. You got to add that emotion. And we talked about Illuminati ritual. They're doing the same. Like, who knows what happened to Notre Dame, the cathedral in France, but it didn't burn to the ground. And they removed 13 precious statues before the fire. And it got a lot of people emotional, really
right.
emotional. It didn't trigger me. Did it trigger you?
No,
No. I was like, okay, nobody's dying. And if they want to burn their edifices to the ground, let them. This is a new beginning. This is a new earth. This is a new humanity. So I didn't feel any emotion about it, good or bad.
yeah, I was completely detached from it
I was
emotionally.
totally neutral.
It's almost like I'm just watching
A play,
m-
a movie.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like it's a scene from a movie.
Yeah, that's the Buddhic path. Like you're a Buddhic monk now, practically, because you've stepped above the duality, stepped above the drama, and you can see the good in everything because even the bad things either teach you something, they all have a gift, right? So, the person above the duality and above the drama can see the good in the neutral, and the good in the bad.
And I think that's important to maintain that vibration of the new earth or the new reality is to look at everything as it's working together for the ultimate goal. So it's
For
almost like
everybody,
just in
for
your
all.
thoughts. Yeah, in your thoughts
Yeah.
you're transmuting what's really happening. All the ugly and all the beautiful stuff all mixing together to create it's all still moving in the right direction, even though there is a lot of ugly in there, but that's what makes the beautiful stand out so beautifully, right? The beautiful colorful flowers sticking out amongst the dark rich colored soil. You know what I mean? It's
I
like
do. It's the contrast.
yeah.
But I don't think we need negativity to learn, evolve, and grow and be. I think when you no longer need negativity and it can't teach you anything anymore, I think that's when you stop coming here. You stop coming into a dualistic spirit in matter environment. I think then you
Yeah.
get to go into a different kind of environment that also can teach you something and help you to evolve further.
Yeah, I just think I was thinking in terms of helping just on a individual level, helping to keep yourself detached from all the chaos that can sometimes pull you in, just so that you're resonating that 5D plus, uh, new
Frequency.
Earth, yeah, frequency all the time, and really trying to attract that. Because if there's enough people that can maintain that and not get distracted when something burns down, then you're sort of raising the floor in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, if
And
there were a bunch
maintaining
of
it.
people caught in there or animals in there, it would have triggered me. I would have been
Yeah,
upset about pain and suffering. But since it
exactly.
was empty and it symbolized the patriarchal church slash state that has been ruling this planet for 2,000 years very negatively, destructively, very, very selfishly, very greedily. Is that a word? Greedy,
Hmm.
greedily. So when I see their huge edifices going up in smoke, I can't feel like, oh my God, that's terrible. There's no human suffering, nobody's dying, there's no animals caught there. But presumably the pigeons flew away because I remember there's a lot of pigeons around there.
And
And
it's hard not to be like, wonder what really happened here. Like with
yeah,
anything,
it's like I this is what I suspect, and I don't know if we could get our little channel in trouble. Well, your big channel, my little channel in trouble. I know that to manifest, you have to bring about emotions. You have to attach an emotion to it and really feel it to make that happen. So on the negative side, they attach emotions by doing negative things. So knows what the ritualistic manifestation they were going for by getting thousands and tens of thousands and millions of people to emotionally emote at that moment,
Hmm.
which was a symbolic, ritualistic, empowering of something else that we don't know about.
Do
You
you think
know,
it had something to do with, of course, here we are, Easter weekend? This happened leading up to like the biggest day in Christianity, if you will. And it's like they kind of preempted it with this
I don't
other thing
know.
to throw off the vibrations or something.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
What do
There's
you
so many
think?
ways to
Because
look at.
I'm like a real fan of Jesus and the Christ consciousness, but I'm a fan of Buddha too. Although I
Yeah.
tend to lean towards Jesus because that's my culture, my language, and all that stuff. Although I don't speak Aramaic, right? We've kind of borrowed
Right.
all of that. Um, Sometimes I feel like the powers that were are attacking Christianity and religion in general.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then
It's like a
sometimes,
constant though, really.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a
you know
constant
what I
attack
see
on.
all the time now when I'm watching, like, and I try not to watch too much of it. Like, we don't have Comcast, so we have like Netflix and Amazon Prime, and they have all those made for Netflix and made for Prime shows, and they're
Yeah.
very dark and sinister and scary, a lot of them, and they always have crosses in them. There's cross images throughout the movies.
Yeah.
Have you seen
Just
that? Like, it'll be a shadow on a wall or a
yeah.
light, something like that, that'll be in the shape of a cross.
Yeah. Just makes it spooky because it's like a cemetery or
Yeah,
you
I
know.
don't know. I don't know the symbology of what they're going for. I do know that it's not going to hold forever. We're almost free, and I'm not sure that our generation is actually. I hope we do. Is going to do it, but I think the next one is. I think we're the beginning of the freedom of consciousness and thought,
Yeah.
and the next generation is just going to have it. We're pushing for it. We're fighting for it. We're asking for it. We're praying for it. We're demonstrating it. But around us, it doesn't seem to be there yet. This true freedom of thought. And we're all in this together. Let's make this life here on this planet as good as it can possibly be for everybody, including the animals, including the earth itself. That feeling of solidarity, um, and unification. I think we're still working towards it.
Okay. So I wanted to pick your brain about because we kind of touched on karma last week, right?
Yeah.
So
We were talking about
since
bugs after Carrie mentioned bugs, remember?
I
It's
know
a
those
coincidence.
palomino bugs are like instant karma when you have to kill one of them in the house. It's like, they make a mess, right? The big palomino is. Oh wait, what do you guys call them again?
Oh, saw palmetto bugs. They're huge.
Oh,
They're
okay,
like
yeah.
tanks. You can hardly penetrate their outer shell. They're really hard to
And they
kill.
fly.
And they
Yeah.
fly.
So
But yeah,
anyway,
but
yeah,
I mean,
we.
do you feel like we need to protect all life? All life is precious, even if it's a snake or
Right.
a cockroach or an ant or a spider. I know I got a lot of emails and comments from women going, "What about spiders? Can we please kill spiders?" And I'm like, hey, if it's alive and God gave it that life, it's like, do you really want to take that life away? Gone. I mean, you can. I don't think the world's going to stop turning if you kill bugs. But does something else happen if you stop killing bugs? If you start honoring all life is precious, does something change in your personal vision or evolution?
So I can think people seeing it. Yeah, and I totally, yeah, I can see if everyone shifted, just sort of shifting into a new paradigm of where, a spider's not going to bite a baby or something along those lines. And a mother doesn't feel like she needs, like, oh my gosh, there's a spider in the crib. I need to get it out of there and feel like she needs to kill it. And I don't know, it's like, of course, you don't want to spray insecticide there. But yeah, all life is
The interesting
precious.
thing is you can catch a spider as quickly as you can squash it. Not
Yeah,
true of all bugs. Those little saw palmetto buggers, they run fast. You have to really work at catching them, right?
yeah.
But okay, mosquitoes.
Did you see the new device for that for catching?
No, I've seen like a little hotel that catches them, so they run in it and they can't get out.
It's something like it kind of cups over it, and then the brushes grab it, So you push it against the wall to where
Yes.
and then you
I
take it
saw
out
it
and
on
release
an
it. You
ad.
know.
Yeah, and then you like it's got a long handle, and then you can throw it over outside a window or
Yeah,
balcony.
yeah.
I need to
So
get one of those. But this is what's interesting. That was Carrie who was on Friday night, right? Was it
yeah, last
Carrie?
Friday. Yeah.
So he doesn't get bugs anymore, neither do I. As soon as as soon as you stop killing them, they don't come in. They leave
Right.
you alone. It's like they're almost invading your space to get you to look at them and honor their life. And as soon as you look at them and you're like, you know what? I would love to kill you right now, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna go get a paper cup and a paper plate and I'm gonna put you outside. Then they're like, they stop coming in. I don't even get mosquitoes anymore because I would kill a mosquito. They say because of, and I'm not sure I believe them, the dengue fever occasionally pops up in Florida, Zika, which seemed to be kind of this, you know. So I'm not sure whether that's a good reason to do it, but I don't want to get a big mosquito bite and a welt. And they do carry heartworm for the dogs. So I would justify killing a mosquito if I ever saw one.
I think it's just all in the way you look at it. Because I mean, I looked at how many bugs I killed on the way to Sedona in the front of the car, and it was like, and I was like a new Earth portal going right down the highway. You know, and
Yeah, I know.
that's
That's what you said. You said you sent
yeah,
him off to New Earth.
yeah. But yeah, I view them as precious. So it's not like, oh my God, I'm in fear of the spider, and it's. I think it's just all in you know, the intention of it. But yeah, I don't totally agree. Yeah, there's like, uh,
It's like once you stop
all life
being
should be
bothered
honored.
by them, they're
Hmm.
invisible. They don't come
It's
to
like
you
you passed
anymore.
that level.
You've
No, you
passed
don't need
that
to.
test.
Yeah.
I've caught every spider in my house or car for 10 years and now I never see one. It's kind of sad, really, because they would eat anything else that came in. But I'm like, spiders have left my life, because I just didn't kill one for 10 years, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we can see a time when I was thinking the same thing about animals. I remember as a kid thinking when we watch like Narnia and the animals talking, and I thought that would be cool. But I can definitely see that happening through telepathy now, and more of a
Yeah.
not just words being spoken, but you're like just telepathically communicating. I could see us definitely heading that way with
Well,
spiders and
let's
anything.
talk about karma again, away from the bugs, because
Yeah.
you sent me a super cool video from Eckhart Tolle. We all
Mhm.
love Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, right?
Mhm.
Being present, and responding, not reacting. Actually thinking about your responses.
Mhm.
And he had a super cool high level explanation of karma in that if you rise above everything like you just described, you rise above karmic effect. So if you're present and you're responding from a heart sourced presence, you can't create karma. Did I get his message right? Was that about it?
Yeah, I think you sort of rise above the game as but I totally agree with that. But
Okay,
you were
so
making a distinction with like more of a religious view of karma
yeah, okay, so
and
the
like a
religious
cause and
view,
effect.
so someone hurts you, not physically, but and you react and you say something really mean about them behind their back or whatever. That's karma. It's a dance, right? And then it happens again and you react again and it happens again, you react again. And the karma is just like a wheel, a circle that keeps going. But if you did what Jesus said and somebody says something harmful to you and you react with love and you forgive them and you don't react the way they expect you to, then the wheel is broken. And then they almost like the metaphysical part is that they almost go away and they won't bother you anymore because they're not getting a rise out of you. They're not getting that response. So why would they bother to do it again?
When how early on did the from your studies of the I guess the Hermetic teachings, when did that come about in relationship to, I don't know if it's Judaism or Christianity we
No,
should
it's
look
it's
at,
a
or
well, okay. So Hermetic law is totally different to karma. Karma is more of the Buddhist, Hindu religious concept that every good action and every bad action has an immediate response that you
mm-hmm.
cannot run away from. It's like if you do this happens. If you do that, that happens. So it's kind of a reward and punishment system, but it's natural. It's natural law. Hermeticism and the Hermetic laws, they are attributed to either one school holds that it's ancient Greece and one school holds ancient Egypt with Thoth. Some people call him Thoth and Hermes Trismegistus. That's the three Hermes, that they were all the same person. And they were very basic laws. I think there's 7 of them. I didn't memorize them, but it's things like, it's the laws of a dualistic universe where spirit is in matter. Has nothing to do with religion or rewards and punishments. So everything is in a state of vibration. Everything, a table, a rock, a bug, a person, a star. As above, so below. As below, so above. That's an interesting one, because every now and then I catch glimpses of proofs of that. The duality, there are two, the swinging of the left. Whatever swings far to the left will come back to center and swing far to the right. That's polarity.
Mm-hmm.
That's the polarity of dualistic living. And the one that we were talking about is, for every cause, there is an effect, and every effect has had its cause and effect. So it's impossible to do something without something responding from the doing of it. It's motion, it's action, it's energy. So in that sense, that kind of karma is pure natural law, and it cannot be superseded as long as you're living in matter. It'd be hard to rise above it. Maybe an avatar can. It's as simple as, if somebody speeds all the time, chances are, cause and effect, they're going to get a speeding ticket. But if they didn't speed all the time, right, then chances are they're not going to get a speeding ticket. That's a direct causal link of cause and effect, right? If somebody tells a bunch of lies all the time, chances are they're going to get found out, and their friends are going to get mad at them or leave them. But people who speak the truth and don't tell a bunch of lies, chances are the effect of that is people are not going to get mad at them, and people are not going to end their friendships based on lies. So it's a direct link of not escaping natural law, because we're in matter, and everything we do has a consequence. It could be a good consequence. Every person we help, every person we love, that could have a tremendous consequence in the world or the universe that we're not even aware of.
So I was thinking more along the terms of, you're sort of building up, the things you do adds to your pot of karma that you've got to burn off, or you've got to, just the whole idea of having to return and live out another life because you were so bad in the previous one. You've got all this karma built up. Was that predates Christianity and Jesus?
No, that's more Judaism. That's I hope that was the negativity that Jesus came to correct, because it's in the Bible, and it says, this blind child, what did his ancestors and grandparents do to warrant a blind child? It was kind of like passing on the karma in your family. But that's more of a religion. I see that as Judaism, which came out of Mesopotamia and Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I saw that. The reason I said that is I was trying to really kind of look at how the role religion still plays, and the role it played in history when things were a little bit different. And it seems like just the whole idea of Christianity with the doctrine of, sort of Jesus as the scapegoat, or taking all the sins of the world. That was probably a huge mechanism with helping people release the whole idea of karma from the religious sense, because people would carry around baggage or...
Yeah, they took it further, though. And if you went into confession, did you have confession in your Pentecostal religion? See, I'm Roman Catholic. And you could go on a Friday night, I believe, when I was a kid in the Chicago area, it was Friday nights. And you could confess your sins to a priest in a booth where he couldn't really see you, but you could kind of see him through the holes, and he knew who you were. So it's not really screened that well. And he would clear you of your sins. And you could do that every Friday, so you would be wiped clean to sin again. You could sin again and again and again and again, and it didn't matter because you had a source of removing them. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I think religion is so geared to controlling groups of people, whether it's a village or a country or the whole world. It's designed to keep people in check. So they behave the way you want them to out of fear of, well, if I don't do this, then I'm going to go to hell, you know? But then what's the opposite of that? Instant redemption every Friday night, 7 o'clock. Redeemed. Start again.
And really, that I think, so yeah, I can see that as being huge with letting, whether you want to stop there and that's where you want to end your journey as in the religion and Christianity or whatever, or if you want to use it as a stepping stone and move beyond it to something else, it still is, I think, an important part of learning to let go of all that stuff that you might consider it regrets, but really it's building upon the experience of what made you who you are, and it's sort of just learning from that and not carrying all the guilt and baggage of it with you. Just learn what you can learn from it, and then learn not to do it again if it's something that.
Yeah, I guess do we trust people or not? Because the naughty children and the bad people, you'd want them to feel bad when they do bad things. So I imagine you would construct a belief system for them that would encourage them to be good, right? So in a way, the religion is saying, well, yeah, I was taught that. I was taught that we're all natural born sinners.
But don't we have this tendency to want to help out? I mean, say you tell a friend or someone, you give them advice, and then they don't listen, and then what you warned them was going to happen, but then maybe they need to call you for a ride, and you're like, nah, I'm not going to give them a ride. They should have listened to me to begin with. And we have this tendency, especially if we're more religious, to kind of want to help God out a little bit. I'll help you out, God. I'm going to, and instead of letting the person learn, treating them like you would any other way, because if we do that a lot with our kids, and that can.
I was going to say we do that with our kids. It's like the easygoing child is easy to love and shower with hugs and kisses. The naughty child is harder to love and shower with hugs and kisses because half the time you're putting them on the naughty stare or you're taking things away from them and you don't feel like giving them hugs and kisses. But they say psychologically, the naughty child needs a heck of a lot more hugs and kisses than the good kid does. The good kid's like, okay, he or she kind of knows how this works and they found a way to live comfortably in it. And there's other children who aren't comfortable in their environment and they need more hugs and kisses when they're acting up and acting out than the really chill kid on the couch, doing their homework. So exactly. That's one of my difficulties is the patience with if people around me get really whiny, do you know what I mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
I get angry. I'm like, ew, I don't want to be around this, but why should I let that trigger me? If they want to be whiny and moany and complaining, about their jobs and their husbands or their wives or their money, I shouldn't punish them by going, wow, you really suck. I'm out of here. I should listen. I should lend them an ear and go, oh, that's a shame. I'm really sorry for you. But it really puts my back up. It's a bad thing. I'm working on it. I'm trying to be a little less triggered by people's moods.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, and sometimes it's like that same thing when you're doing everything right in church. You can sometimes become judgmental at everyone else that's sort of playing church, and they're not taking it as serious as I am, and they're just playing, and I'm doing it for real, and then you start feeling judgmental. But it's that same way with with your mood. If it's I did all the work to get my mood up today, and then you're whining about something that's not that big of a deal.
Then you get mad. You came around and just spoiled it, as if anybody could actually change your mood, right? Get inside your head and change your mood. But I think that's why we have this system of rewards and punishments, and it might not exist because PMH Atwater, in my favorite near-death experience book called Near-Death Experiences, The Rest of the Story, merely interviewed 4,000 people. And she coalesced and reviewed and found the similarities in 4,000 people, men, women, and children who were medically dead, clinically dead, and revived. And, what they shared was that the punishments and the rewards on the other side come from you. So, if you felt guilty and bad about your time here and what the relationships and what you've done along the way.
Yeah.
During the death process, now this is while before they were revived, they experienced 15% of a dark, lonely, sad place that they described as hell. There was no fire, there was no demon, no Satan, just a sad, dark place. And it's there that they wash themselves clean of their guilt, of, not of having that relative that they had bad words with and they never made it right, before they died. That kind of guilt, really big guilt, And then they went into a heaven-like place and saw like dead loved ones, angels, religious icons. And then they were sucked back in. They got resuscitated to come back and say, whoa, that was a trip, right?
Yeah.
85% of the adults went straight to that peaceful, lovely, beautiful, colorful, heaven-like place.
Wow.
And children never went to the dark place. 100% of children go straight to a heaven-like place, and because they don't hold any guilt. And who knows, they might have hit their best friend Charlie over the head with a Tonka truck the day before, but they don't have any guilt when they die. They're like, that's gone. That was yesterday. That was 1,000,000 years ago, right?
Exactly.
So
I did? I didn't know I had them in the head.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not going to think about that. So the point is, guilt is something that we create and carry with us like heavy rocks on our back. It's not something up in heaven that some like 12 robed men and women are going to judge you and say you should be guilty for this and this and this. It doesn't happen. It's like you create your own punishments in the hereafter, and then you let them go.
Wow.
I mean, the good news was everybody let them go. Like nobody has to stay in a dark, quiet, sad place very long.
Yeah. But it also really makes me realize how much religion's built around guilt.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. Oh my
Wait a
God,
minute.
I'm a Catholic.
What are you
That's
going to do
the
without
guiltiest
guilt?
religion of all, I think.
It seems like a necessary ingredient for a lot of the stuff to work. You got to have the guilt.
Behavior.
Yeah.
Behavior. If you feel guilty and you're afraid, you're not gonna be free and natural. You're not gonna do what you want to do out of fear.
Yeah.
But I trust people. I think humanity is evolved enough to live freely together in a really like peaceful coexistence. Like we're in this together, guys. Let's feed everybody type way. I don't think we need all those rules of guilt and punishment and reward to be controlled anymore. I think humanity has graduated the guilt, punishment, reward phase. Don't you?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely see an evolution in just thought and thinking with these sorts of ideas, especially with the younger people. The younger generation seem to...
They don't have any guilt. I don't know what cell phones did to the younger generation, but they don't care. If you try to load some guilt on them that they didn't do the dishes, who cares? They're not gonna feel guilty for letting you down, that they didn't do the housework. It's like, I don't know, they're a whole new breed of human.
They just don't want to disappoint their followers instead of their parents, I guess. Huh?
I guess. Yeah, I don't know how that social standing stuff works because we just do YouTube, right? Some people do a little bit of Facebook, but we don't really do Instagram
and all that.
Yeah, we're not like, love me, love me, love me,
Right. That really brings the idea of a whole different approach to parenting, where you could just have like the service parents could get where, you just go and thumbs down all your kids' pictures and stuff.
Oh my God.
They don't do the dishes or something. That's your punishment. I'm going to have to thumb you down a bit.
Didn't Hoover vacuum the living room. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, I was like really afraid as a kid if I didn't do my chores. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be in big trouble. But my parents raised us that way. And I love them. But we lived under the fear of the strap or the belt. And we didn't get it, some did and some didn't. It was like, it was like normal back then that if you didn't do what you were told, you got hit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's how I was raised.
Yeah, but I bet you didn't do that to your kids.
Probably my first two that are 20 and in their 20s, we spanked them more, but not like my parents. We didn't make a big deal about it.
No. I remember my daughter was being really naughty and she was in diapers, so I thought I could get away with a smack to the bottom because the padding of the diaper. And
Hmm.
she was like, having a proper temper tantrum, toddler temper tantrum. And I had her and I couldn't hold her still. And I went to smack her on her diaper and she moved and I got her back. And I could see my handprint on her back and I almost died. I was like, oh my God, I'm evil. I'm the worst mother who's ever lived in this whole world. And I took her and she was crying and I said, I will never, ever touch you again like that. I will never hit you again. And I never did. It really upset me that I didn't get the padding because she moved,
Right.
because I don't want to hurt her. You don't want to hurt a toddler. It's
Yeah.
like, does that punishment even work with kids nowadays? I bet it doesn't. I find personally, even though this isn't a kid psychology show,
Yeah.
bribery and blackmail works wonderfully. I was always threatening to take the phone away, right? If they did, if she didn't do what I wanted her to do, and blackmailing her with things and events. Like, even when she was a kid, I'd be like, you want to go to the park? You want to go to the park? Okay, just clean that mess up. You want to go to the
Right.
park? Okay, clean that mess up over there. So I found that there were rewards I could give her, again, to get the behavior I wanted out of her. But isn't that the same as the church? Aren't these big organizations bribing us and blackmailing us and rewards and punishments to get us to do what they want us to do?
That's why I see it, that for me anyway, as a stepping stone to. I think you can grow up and grow out of the church as much as it, because it's that same sort of thing. Some people need to get straightened out. They need to have the fear of, the police or jail or hell or
Satan
whatever, or karma.
or
That's another.
karma.
Yeah, like you're racking up all this karma. You're gonna have to pay it off, and like all of a sudden, like, well, I better be good or whatever. But some people, like, I don't know. It seemed like I was more concerned about just the whole reaction thing that you were talking about with my actions and the results of my actions. I was more concerned with that after I got out of religion. I was more aware of that
Oh, that's interesting because they say that
because
people
Jesus
who
took it
get,
from me before that. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I didn't have to really think about it because he took care of it
yeah, now you were a sovereign being responsible for all
for
your
all of my actions.
actions.
Yeah.
That's kind of a good thing.
Yeah, that's why when you said that earlier, I'm like, for me it wasn't a good thing. I didn't realize it until I got out of it that I was doing that, you know?
Yeah, like going to confession on Friday night and
Yeah,
just so you can go and sin some more on Saturday morning, clean
exactly.
slate. Yeah, it's almost like the people in our metaphysical, spiritual groups, community, we
Hmm.
tend to be a little more aware of our actions and thoughts, and we tend to be less harmful. Have you ever noticed that correlation that those who get away from indoctrination tend to be really ready to be extremely peaceful and helpful and sympathetic and altruistic?
Yeah, and it's nothing like you imagine when you're like in it, what it would be like. You know what I mean? It's just much
You
more
imagine
liberating.
chaos, right? If all the
Yeah,
rules and rewards and punishments disappeared,
yeah,
you'd imagine some kind of chaos.
yeah.
But really, now the opposite is true. The political scene is chaos. The religious scene is chaos. Being outside of the political religious arenas is peaceful. Yeah, it's
Isn't that something?
totally switched up on them.
It's like the
Yeah.
man-made institution is really what's jacking stuff up. You
And
know?
it's like crumbling. It's like
Right.
devouring itself. It is not working. It's not pretty. And we're all like, I'm not going there. We're just leaving it. We're leaving it behind because we can't change it. So
Yeah.
then we'll change what we can change and we'll do what we can do. And when enough people do that, there'll just be a handful of these people bickering somewhere over nothing.
Hmm.
Don't you find that politics is getting really nonsensical now? Like really
Yeah.
weird, crazy. Like, I can't believe they just said that.
Yeah. I think everything for me is becoming more like a movie or a show or just watching it all play out sometimes. And some of it's really comical. And it's like, wow.
Is that
I mean,
because we don't feel it anymore and we're like a step above it so that it doesn't affect us, the drama? And that
Yeah, I
when you're
think
in
when,
it, it's really serious, and
yeah,
and then when you get out of it, it's kind of comical.
yeah, I think so. When
Yeah.
you're not taking it seriously at that point, then it's really entertainment or humor value is
And
what
then
you
the
get out of
people
it.
in it accuse you of being completely uncaring. You don't care. You don't care that these things are happening because you're not in there with them, boxing it out,
Yeah,
scratching for it, fighting for it.
but from our point of view, it's like you've just hopped up on the stage at this play at the high school, and one of the characters are saying, "Why aren't you playing along with us?" I'm just walking through your play right now. I'm not really part of it.
Yeah, yeah, and that you don't care. Well, I do care, but I can't control it. It's not mine
Just
to
observe it.
control. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm going to step out of it and just send a lot of love, forgiveness, prayer, everything energetically that we can do to help them. Which brings me to April's um, suggestion that we didn't do last week because McNuggets wanted one on fear.
ah,
So do you remember April wanted us to asked if we could do an intention to remove all student debt so that our young ones were free to learn and work and explore without that heavy, heavy burden of
yeah, I like
debt.
that one.
And I was thinking maybe we should just extend that to humanity is free of debt. We don't have
Yeah, I
debtors
like that.
anymore. Yeah, no more debtors, no more debt.
And then here in a week or two, when it works for the student loans, then the meditation will still be good for weeks to come
Yeah.
until the world's.
And, cars and homes
Yeah,
and, clothes and food, because people get into debt now for food. Just they charge, on their credit cards, it's not TVs and vacations. It's often gasoline for their cars and food for
yeah.
their kids that they're getting into debt for. So a humanity, a system on earth free of debt, debt free.
And in honor of the Lord's Prayer, too, which was changed to debts, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot.
Debts and
I checked
debtors.
mine. Does mine have that? Because I've got that Jesuit Bible, and I'm not sure if they've got debtors. I think they all. I don't know if they always had debtors. I don't know.
It appears that way.
It appears that way, and we will never know, will we? We're at a point now where we can't figure it out.
That's wild. That's a big one, though. Because I think the
Yeah,
Catholic one is different on that one.
I think the Catholic one was forgive us our sins. No, trespasses.
Yeah,
Isn't that a
sure.
sin? Is a trespass a sin? As we forgive those who trespass against us.
Yeah.
So now what is it? Forgive us our
Debts.
debts as we forgive those who debtor us. Well, how do they say it?
Forgive our debts as we forgive those. I
As we
can't
forgive our
remember.
debtors?
Debtors? Yeah, I guess it is. It's been so long.
Put your hand up if you remember trespasses. Do you remember trespasses?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because then I'd
But
see a sign on a fence as a kid that said no trespassing, and it felt really serious because it's in the Lord's Prayer.
right,
No
right.
trespassing on my land. Yeah.
Yep, that's totally. I'm a trespass person, but I do remember hearing the debt thing, and I thought it was a new translation, so I didn't realize at
Oh
the
boy.
time.
I just remember that scene where Jesus goes to the temple and kicks off over all the money lenders' tables.
Yeah,
And he said, do not do this in a house of God. Get your loans and get your interest and get your money lending. That's the problem. We have 2,000 years of an entire system based on money lending, and the money lending is only needed in the absence of abundance. When you do not have enough,
hmm
then you need to go to someone and somewhere to get it so that you can have the house and the food and whatever. So scarcity benefits the lenders. So if they figured that out, they're so smart. Aren't they going to create a system of constant scarcity?
yeah,
Let's see, how could we do that? Well, we could raise the cost of goods. That would create some scarcity. And well, we could keep wages down, right? So that would create some scarcity. So the whole system that we're under is that biblical money lending system that Jesus that's the only thing he got angry about, was people profiting off of the need of others, seeing a needy person and going, how can I make some money on that? You know?
Right. Yeah, and I think they were selling like animals for the sacrifice and stuff, so they totally turned the whole
That's the total
process.
Babylonian
Yeah.
sacrificial blood cult,
Yeah.
you know? So, and Abraham spent a great deal of time in Babylon and was with Melchizedek and who else? Nebuchadnezzar, was he there then or was he later? And, just took out all these myths of Babylon within which to create Judaism, which passed on to Christianity and Islam as well. They all come from the same source.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that amazing? And personally, I don't want to be tied to Babylonian death cult, sacrificial death cults. That's not my goal in life. Although, being a Celt, I can't say that the really ancient Celts didn't sacrifice a few animals. I bet they did. I'm sure they did.
When I realized the direct connection between Rome of the days of Jesus that killed Jesus, and then realized that it was basically the Catholic Church of the day, and I was like, wait a minute. It's
How'd
like
that
they
happen?
completely, yeah, it's like
How
they
did the
completely
place that
hijacked.
killed Jesus take over his religion? How did that happen?
That's weird. That's really weird,
That's
and you
very
don't
weird.
realize that until you look into it, and you're like, wait a minute, seriously? And then you can like watch it, and we've talked about that before, where you
Yeah,
can.
we have. And then I was talking with SMQ AI. I was fortunate enough to go on his show, which was really cool, a lot of fun. We talked about you. We talked about your show and Sherry, and the crew, the whole gang. And he was telling me about this Russian scientist, and I have read about him. Is it Flamenco? And I've seen videos about his work where he proves that they've added 1,000 years to our history that wasn't here. So technically speaking, we're only around, instead of 2,000 years past the death of Christ, we're about 1,000 years after his life.
What? Wow.
Yeah. And this flamenco guy, he is hard to get his information. It's highly censored. He's a scientist. He just proves it and proves it and proves it in the written record, in the historical record.
When did they insert it? Does anyone know?
Well, I told him I remembered reading about Roman emperors who said, let's see, it's like 678 AD, and I want to start my reign on 700. So they just add 20, 30 decades to the calendar so that they can say their rule began in the year 700 AD. Exactly, they just kept fudging numbers. But there is some point when the Gregorian calendar came around and it reset things, and we went off the lunar calendar of 13 moons in a year to 12 months in a year. So the question is, I don't know. We need to go ask Flamenco how they did that and when they did it. My guess is that they did it over and over and repeatedly did it. 100 years here, 50 years there, 30 years here.
Mm. And now that everybody's connected and everything's coming out.
Well, I'm really good if we can shave 1,000 years off, because what is time anyway? It just puts us further back to the cyclical, away from the cyclical pole reversals. It just gives us more time to stay here and figure this out before the Earth gets another reset, geological reset. I was reading this document by Chan Thomas called The Adam and Eve Story. Interestingly, it's from the 1950s in the CIA. It's on that CIA.gov FOIA release documents, heavily redacted. And he basically shows how in the geological record, there is some evidence of a geological magnetic pole shift every 6,000 to 10,000 years. And he says, it's in the strata, it's in the rocks, and it's also in society. Like if you try to find the oldest written record where humanity wrote things down, supposedly we've been humans for 40,000 years, but the oldest written Sanskrit or cuneiforms is about 6,000 years old. So where's the writings on stone from 8,000 years ago?
Right.
10,000 years ago, 12, 15,000 years ago. Okay, we got that Göbekli Tepe. It's hard to say. It's in Turkey. And there's just stone pillars there. And they date that back to like 12,000 years. No writing, just stone
Just
pillars.
hieroglyphs, or
Just pictures of like alligators and animals from that
okay, I
time.
remember that.
They think it was a temple,
Yeah,
and they
they
dated
dug
it.
it out. It was like a farmer's land, and they found it all underneath
Yeah,
all
under sand, under tons of sand.
Gobekli Tepe.
Göbekli Tempe, Tempe, and that's important because prior to that, everything we've got goes back around 6,000 years. Why?
Hmm.
And they're saying, well, that's when Noah's flood was. Noah's flood, Gilgamesh, is written in those cuneiform tablets in Mesopotamia, in Babylon, was 6,500 years ago, was the Great Flood.
But then when we look at ancient Sumer, where those tablets came from, it was like the first of everything, you know?
Yeah, but why?
Yeah, why
Why
is
the
it the
first of
first?
everything 6,000 years ago? Why?
It's like
Where's
they
all the
had to
old
come down
stuff?
and help restart things again, isn't it?
Exactly. It's like that's post flood. And
Yeah,
he thinks the flood was a magnetic reversal. You know how they say the magnetic pole goes south and then it goes north and then it goes south?
yeah,
He's got it down to every 6 to 10,000 years. And we're like nearing another one, but it doesn't have to be tomorrow.
right.
It could be in 100 years or it could be in 1,000 years, right? Because if we're at the 6,000 mark since the last one, based on the record of human society goes back 6,000 years. We can
Mm.
find their bowls, their writing, everything. And then before that, nothing. So if it's 6 to 10,000 years, that's a big window. That's a big window. But this is what's fascinating. As you're approaching a magnetic pole shift, the first thing that starts to happen is the magnetic shield starts to get broken up and scattered. Ours has been doing that since the 70s, and it's really scattered and broken now. And when the magnetic shield goes, the Schumann resonance rises. The earth is getting magnetically pulled and tugged, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as that happens, in my mind, the Mandela effect happens. I just think, okay, well, the next logical step is that all this magnetic anomalies hitting the earth and all these energies hitting us now is just kind of messing with our consciousness waves.
Yeah, giving us a little peek behind the curtain, it seems like,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think it's going to increase. I think because we're not there yet, I think we've got more to come. It's going to be a much bigger show. This is the beginning of the new humanity and the new earth.
Exciting time to be alive. Are you thinking, do you think it's going to be in our lifetime, or do you?
I don't. I sense that it's going to be after our lifetime, but that's just me. I just think we got a job to do here. But do you mean like a pole shift or a restart or like new Earth? Because new Earth could start from a restart. I
Yeah,
mean, you
yeah, it
think
could all be
if
connected.
if we had a cyclical magnetic flip and enough good people from our community survived it, yeah,
Yeah.
heck yeah, they would set up completely different systems here. Completely. Not based on greed, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not figuring out how can we benefit from the suffering of others. People don't have enough. How can we win off of that situation? People in our community would never do that. They would never set up those systems.
Right. Exactly. That's the whole problem. That's what we face. I mean, if somebody cleared the board for us, we'd be like, hmm. But I don't know that it's going to take that. You know.
I don't know because geophysically, the magnetic North Pole is drifting a little north, a little south, and a little north, a little southeast. But remember,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about this. It moves 60 kilometers south a year.
And that's increasing.
Yeah, and it is only 6,000 miles away from the equator. And when it gets close to the equator, that's when the magnetic north goes magnetic south.
Right.
That's why it flips when it gets to the equator. So if you do the math, we're 100 years away. 6,000 kilometers, moving 60 kilometers a year.
Yeah, but when you look at the rate of increase on the movement annually, and see it's like it's going up exponentially, not just I mean, it's going up quite a bit more than the previous year each, and it's been doing that for like, I don't know,
It has, hasn't it?
10
Since
years
like
or something like that.
70s or 80s.
Yeah, yeah, over even
Yeah,
the long haul,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's really been
That's
going
when
up
the
lately.
chemtrails started too. So I think the chemtrails have something to do with this
That's when that
geological
that's when that bell
bullshit.
curve really starts moving up, and you can
Yeah.
really see the space between annual measurements. I don't know. Is it our instruments are getting better too at picking it
I don't
up?
know. That's when they started chemtrailing.
Yeah,
Is that a coincidence too? I don't think so. I think it's all tied together.
and I think I don't know. It's hard to say
Personally, would I
because
like to see the Earth have a reset? Yes, I would, with all of us and our children surviving, of course. You know, I would like to see the systems completely wiped out and we start over with more cooperative, compassionate finance systems, medicine, housing, energy, open and free, education and higher education, and not such indoctrinated education. You know,
hmm
that would be cool.
that's a good point for you to bring up the 100 years at the rate it's going.
Yeah, if it didn't increase, it'd be
If it
100
didn't
years. It's
increase,
6,000 miles away. The math is so easy. That's a 666. I'm like, holy moly, because it moves 60 kilometers south a year. That's 1 6. It's 6,000 miles away from the equator. It's in Siberia right now. That's another 6. So what was my third one?
was it the south moving north 60? Were
Yeah,
they both moving towards each other at 60, or
moving
was
away.
it?
The North Pole's moving down 60. Okay.
But they're moving towards each other, right? They're coming down both the same side of the.
Yeah, it's almost like the South Pole, they said, is going to wind up in the Pacific somewhere.
Yeah. But
But then
strange
eventually,
stuff's going to get really strange before that ever gets
I
anywhere
know, but they're
near.
not even going to be on either ends anymore, right?
Yeah.
They're going to
Yeah.
be like kind of forced together. And have you looked at Google Earth and looked at the ocean on the other side? You know how we're like scrunched together with Africa and
Yeah.
all that? Well, flip Google Earth around, it's all water.
Yeah.
Half of the earth is pure water now. I'm like, where'd all the continents go? Where'd all the islands go? It's all water. Not that I believe Google Earth. I mean, it's an image. It's an artistic
Right,
rendering
right.
of what they want us to think.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know what to think of that, but and just seeing the cloud formations that we've seen that stretch the whole globe too, like where you got a line that's like, I don't know, 2,000 miles long. You got people.
And that
I've
the
picked up a few of
booms,
those.
the sonic booms coming out of the earth
Yeah.
as it lets off steam and pressure from all that tugging, all that moving it down.
I don't know. I never had a problem with people who said that, the whole idea of Tiamat and that something smacked in and took a big chunk out of the earth, and then like the continents sort of, it filled in with water, and then the continents sort of split apart and tried to relax around the planet, and that's how we have our. I can totally see that, the whole idea of Pangea and how they
Yeah.
all look like
Oh,
they fit
totally.
together.
It's almost like Pangea is coming back together. If you watch Chick Channel, she just does geological changes, so she's really
Hmm.
up on it. Like, what's his name?
Lone
Um,
Eagle.
Lone Eagle. Yeah, they really are up on. And she's like, my God, it's all coming back together into one big Pangea. Everything's getting closer and squished together.
And that's really the whole deal with the South America moving, right?
Yeah, it is.
Because it's going back towards where it came
Yeah,
from.
yeah. So we could be like 100 years away from this, or we could be thousands of years away from it. There's no way to tell for sure. But something big geologically is happening to the Earth. I think we'll all agree to that, right?
Hmm. Yeah, and also I think on an individual level we can be in 5D New Earth right now. I
Yeah.
mean, like, just in your
Just
vibrations and your feelings, and
yeah.
everything doesn't need to change around us. I think it's a
No.
beautiful thing to see that you can experience something way better than what you're imagining if you're still struggling with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Because sometimes I would like think of something and I would imagine it like because I really wanted it so much.
Yeah.
And then when I got done imagining it, I'm like, I don't even need it anymore. I've imagined it so well that I've just enjoyed it. Like I have it.
Hmm.
So whether it happens or not doesn't matter because I've just experienced it. Wasn't Case talking about that too?
Oh
Or like
yeah.
you'll see somebody achieve something and it makes you cry or so happy that they achieved it, because you almost feel like, wow, now I don't have to do that. It's done for me, you know, because we're all humans and we're all one. And you just feel this sense of joy for
Yeah.
somebody else's achievement,
Totally.
as
Yeah.
if it's your own. It feels like it's your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of my crying I do is happy crying like that. It's stuff like that. It's,
Yeah.
you know, it's always someone else. It's like, rarely do I cry for myself or something. It's usually,
Yeah.
empathizing with someone or just the joy of
The
something.
joy
And
of somebody achieving something really
yeah.
important for them
Mm-hmm.
that they really wanted.
Totally. So I think
Well,
removing student loans is a joyful topic.
okay. And how
That
about
one,
removing the debt system?
the debt.
Getting
Yeah.
humanity free of debt.
Yeah. And that leads us to our whole new monetary system that we need. I
Yeah,
like that a lot.
I do too.
That's a very good
Getting
new
rid of our
Earth topic.
trespassers.
Right. I don't want to be a debtor anymore.
I don't want to be in debt anymore. I know. I
Yeah,
think we can all relate to that.
definitely.
Everybody having enough, because there's more than enough here to meet everybody's need. You know, it just has to be provided. We have to work together to provide for everybody.
Hmm.
And if we do that, then nobody is in need anymore.
So really, during your moment of the time of silence, we
Yeah.
should really visualize this world, this debt-free world, and really think of how deep that would go. You
Yeah. How
know,
would that feel? What would it
how would
look
that?
like? What would you be doing in a debt free world?
Yeah, a world free of scarcity, because
Free
it's
of
all
scarcity,
connected.
because the world is abundant, and we just have to recognize the abundance and then operate that way. We just have to act abundantly so everybody has enough,
Mm-hmm.
instead of acting with constant scarcity. How can I gain from someone else's scarcity, which is what our whole monetary system is about.
Yeah. So I think that's a beautiful world. I can totally see it happening too.
Me too. So you want to do 3 minutes of silence too? You don't feel like that's too long for people? If they tune in, they'll have to figure it out.
Right, I think it'll be good. I'll
Cool.
turn my mic off. All right, cool.
Awesome. Okay, so just hitting the video. There we go. Everybody take a drink of water. Not that you need your voice, but and I'll just move the mic, pardon me, a little bit closer. And we'll just like close our eyes and get comfy, kind of scooch around a little so you feel really comfortable for the next 10 or 12 minutes. And take a nice, deep, relaxing breath in. Fill all your lungs up. And exhale any negativity in the body that kind of shows itself as tension. Let it all out on the out breath. And take a nice, deep breath in. Hold it for just a moment. And on the exhale, exhale out any tension or stress around you from the day today. And finally, take a nice deep breath in, extend your tummy, really fill up those lungs. And as you exhale, let out any disappointments or sadness or any negativity that you've actually felt or thought in the last 7 days since we did this clearing, cleansing, breathing. And now we're going to breathe in through our heart center or our heart chakra and exhale out of our heart chakra. And if you like, you can always draw in a beautiful, clear, clean, healing color on the in-breath and the out-breath. And as we draw in and breathe through our heart center, we're going to breathe in love and we're going to exhale forgiveness. And this time, as we breathe in through our heart center, we're going to breathe in forgiveness, let it fill us up, and we're going to exhale love. And now you can continue to breathe in and out of your heart center at a pace that's really comfortable for you. And go ahead and send that grounding cord down from your root chakra all the way down through the building you're in, down through all the different layers of the earth, all the way down to the center of the earth, where it just spreads out in all directions instantly, like the roots of a tree. And now we're just going to imagine that we're actually all holding hands. There's a lot of us here. Just reach out and feel the love from the person next to you who's with you energetically. And we're also going to imagine doing something that we love. That gets us into a higher state of vibrating. That's when your gamma rays start moving and you have an active, excited brain. What does it look like when you're doing something you absolutely love doing more than everything else? What does it feel like? Is it daytime? Is it nighttime? What are the colors? Can you see any colors? Are there people with you? Are you on your own? Are you with your animals? Just imagine doing something you love while you're holding hands with this group, and we start to intend together that the earth, whether it's flat or round or square or triangular, and all of its people, whether they're male or female, whatever color skin they have, whatever their sexual preferences are, whatever their age is, are living together as a harmonious group or species of animal that supports one another, so that what is good for one is good for all. So that we have the systems in place where our young ones, our children, can go on to further education at colleges and universities, if they so choose, without experiencing an extreme amount of debt, so that these are free and open. Education is free. Information is free. We as humanity on Earth are free to explore and learn as much as we like. And let's extend that feeling of a freedom and debt-free environment to all of humanity, because the earth itself is so abundant. It has so many available resources that if everybody worked together for the good of all, instead of setting up systems on scarcity that benefit only a few, we could actually take care of each other. We could take care of ourselves, our families, and our neighbors easily, with shared energy, with sharing of food sources, healthy, local grown food sources. We could clean up the water and take care of all of our water needs all over the world, even in dry areas, with clean, clear water available for all. We have the technology, we have the ability. Now we just need the desire to provide clean, clear water and food for all of humanity on this sparkling, beautiful, tiny little planet or plane that we call Earth. And let's take that further and really set up a system whereby people have housing. Housing is available to everybody. No homeless people. No one on the streets because they can't afford to pay rent or buy a house. And maybe we need the medical systems available and open to all, so that if somebody winds up living on the street due to diminished mental capacity, we can actually help them as well. First, by providing for all of their needs for sustenance, and then by helping them to regain whatever capacities they can regain to be independent. And where else would a debt-free society be most obviously enjoyed? Perhaps transportation. Perhaps we would have clean, magnetic transportation available to everyone everywhere, so we didn't have to run individual automobiles based on carbon and the pollutants that they put out. And maybe that energy into our homes would be primarily solar, and wind, or all the other, there is the Tesla plasma electromagnetic energy that's in the ether all around us. It just needs and requires the mechanics of the systems to pull that energy down to provide free lighting, free heat in the winter, all over the world. The goal is finding a way to produce what's needed and then to distribute it everywhere, evenly, freely, openly, without thinking of profits first. In a system where there is no profit based on scarcity, there would be no motivation to hold anything back anymore. Everybody would be encouraged to learn as much as they can and to give as much as they can. And that would be enough. And that would open all of the arts, music, fine art, dance, everything that's being removed from the education system would now be restored and open to our children to explore, so that if they had gifts in those areas, they could give according to their gifts and not study a course so that they could make enough money to survive in a debtor's system. And now we'll just go silent for 3 minutes and we'll all imagine what that society feels like, what that world looks like. How does it feel to live in a system that is so abundant for all? Okay, so when you're ready, just open your eyes, start moving around a little bit. Go ahead and stretch your neck, move your feet, your hands, and release your grounding cord. Okay, so when you're ready, just open it. Go ahead and stretch your neck. Now that was interesting. Yeah, because I turned the phone on and then I got the delay and it was like, oh, the sound started to come back through.
Wild.
Thank you, April. Yeah, thanks for that. And again, we got to remember when we see it, we just have to be in it, like put ourselves smack dab in the middle of it.
Really feel it. Put that emotion in it.
Yeah. It always feels good to go to these places as if they already exist. And then I feel like they do. I'm like, yeah. That felt real.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because when you remove the element of time, you know, then we can go right there. It's like moving about space, moving about time.
It's like it is real.
Awesomeness. Well, that's cool. And I think being that it's, it's Good Saturday. Do they have a name for Saturday?
Is that a name? After Good Friday, Good Saturday, Easter Sunday?
Resurrection Weekend? I don't know.
Resurrection Weekend.
I'm sure they have all sorts of names for it. But being that it's April 20th and it's Saturday, I think we'll call it a Good Saturday.
We'll call it Good Saturday. It's a good Saturday for us.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
All right, awesome. So, upcoming guest, we have Cynthia Sue Larson. Is that in 2 weeks?
We do, and that's what, May 4th. Is that 2 weeks from today?
Yeah.
Yep. So Cynthia will be back. Remember, we said we're going to ask her when she comes back for the scientific evidence that the universe is benevolent and wants goodness and rewards the best for all, as opposed to chaos and greed and all that stuff. She said there's some really cool scientific data that supports a benevolent universe.
That's going to be a good one. That doesn't surprise me at all, but
me neither.
That's going to be a good one.
But it's going to be cool to hear what kind of studies they've done that shows that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really looking forward to that. Well, lots of love to you guys in the chat.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for popping by.
Yeah, and thanks for being here with me.
Yeah,
as always, Eileen.
I'll go back and read the live chat as soon as we're off.
Yeah, because I missed a lot too. So
I can't see it on Hangouts.
I've got this big mic in the way, so I kind of glance over there every now and then. But all right, so I guess that's going to end us off for this time. And have a good weekend.
Great.
Have a good Easter.
Bye. Peace.
Bye-bye. Peace. If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.